I'll ask everyone to please rise if you're able for the Canadian National Anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Please be seated. We acknowledge that we are on traditional lands of the Treaty 4 territory, a treaty signed with 35 First Nations across southern Saskatchewan and parts of Alberta and Manitoba, the original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. The City of Regina owes its strength and vibrancy to these lands and the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory, as well as settlers from around the world who continue to be welcomed here and call Regina home. Some members of City Council and City Administration may be attending the meeting today through video conferencing. I would like to remind those members of the following. Please ensure that your video camera and microphone are turned off. If a member of Council wishes to speak, use the raise hand function to be placed into the speaking queue. When speaking, remember to unmute your microphone and enable your video camera, and all votes will be conducted with a recorded vote. Some delegations may be attending the meeting today by teleconference to address City Council on various items on the agenda. First up, can I have someone move a motion to approve the agenda at the call of the chair with the following adjustments? To add the registered list of delegations and to deem the following notice of motions as read into the record to give notice that they will be debated by council at its May 6th, 2026 meeting. It is MN 26-5, Accessibility Advisory Committee Recommendation Process, MN 26-6, Infrastructure Protection, and MN 26-7, Return to Office Work. I would look for a mover for that, Councillor Mancinelli, and a seconder, Councillor Siklees. I'll call the question on the approval of the agenda. Any opposed? And that's carried. Can I have someone move a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting held on March 25th, 2026? Councillor Rasevich, and a seconder. And a seconder, Councillor Burton, thank you. I'll call the question. Any opposed? Sorry, any errors or omissions first? Any opposed? And carried. We will now consider the consent agenda. The consent agenda is moved and voted on without debate as one item, regardless of the number of agenda items it includes. The following item is deemed automatically removed from the consent agenda as a delegation has registered to speak to it, and that is item CR 26-38, Early Adopter Incentive Enhancements Program Update. The consent agenda for this meeting includes the following items. CR 26-37, 2025 Annual Integrity Commissioner's Annual Report. CR 26-39, Waste Plan Regina Update 2024-2025. CR 26-40, the Regina Property Tax Bylaw 2026 and the Education Property Tax Bylaw 2026. I'll now ask if any member wishes to remove any of those items from the consent agenda for consideration and debate at this meeting. Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Councillor Zakidniak, and seconder, Councillor Mancinelli. Any opposed? And carried. Okay, we will now consider public hearing and public notice bylaws, and I will ask Deputy Mayor Mancinelli to do first reading of the following bylaws. That would be 2026-6, Design Regina, the official community plan amendment bylaw 2026 number 2, 2026-18, the Development Levy Amendment Bylaw 2026, and 2026-20, the Regina Zoning Amendment Bylaw 2026, number 3. Councillor Mancinelli, I'll get you to do first reading.
I move, seconded by Councillor Adams, that bylaws 2026-6-18 and -20 be introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the first reading is carried unanimously.
Thank you, and I'll now ask the clerk to speak to the public hearing portion of these bylaws.
Through you, Mayor, as required by legislation, the following bylaws require a public hearing. Bylaw number 2026-6, Design Regina, the official community plan amendment bylaw 2026, number 2. The purpose of this bylaw is to repeal obsolete policy, the objective of which has been achieved, and to remain aligned with the city's evolving needs. Bylaw number 2026-18, the Development Levy Amendment Bylaw 2026. The purpose of this bylaw is to establish the applicable servicing agreement fees and development levy rates that are authorized to be imposed on proposed development on or after January 1st, 2026. And lastly, bylaw number 2026-20, the Regina Zoning Amendment Bylaw 2026, number 3. The purpose of this bylaw is to amend the Regina Zoning Bylaw 2019 by rezoning the subject property located at 4025 Parliament Avenue from PS Public Service Zone to MH Mixed High-Rise Zone. Is there anyone in the gallery today wishing to address City Council on any of these proposed bylaws? There appear to be none, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back to you, Deputy Mayor Mancinelli. Can you please do second reading of the bylaws?
I move, seconded by Councillor Zakidniak, that bylaws number 2026-6, -18 and -20 be read a second time.
Do any members of council have any questions? Councillor Zakidniak, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted a bit more information about 2026-6. I understand it's to repeal obsolete policy, which has been, the objective has been achieved, but it doesn't give further details about the obsolete policy that has been achieved. So I was just looking for a reminder about what specifically is going to be removed through the chair.
Who would like to speak to
that? Sorry. Didn't mean to start with apparently a difficult question.
Just put Ms. Bryden, is that for you? Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I honestly don't have that in front of me at this minute. I will check in and get back to you as soon as I can.
Sure, that would be good. I know, like, whatever it is, it's something that we talked about at council and potentially at planning commission too. So, but I was just hoping for a reminder of what that was.
I'll maybe get the city clerk to speak to it. I think she has some information. Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, this bylaw is related to a report that was considered by City Council at its March 25th, 2026 meeting from Regina Planning Commission on March 17th, 2026. And the report number is CR 26-31. I'm just pulling up the name of the report. So the details of those amendments to the that are being recommended, or that were recommended through that report, are in that report. It was the official community plan and zoning bylaw amendments also related to 4025 Parliament Ave. So the two of the bylaws are related to the same report, which was CR 26-31 on March 25th.
Would you like more information right now, or is it something that administration could follow up with you after, Councilor Zakiniak? Or I guess how would you like to proceed with that? Mr. Nicol, go ahead.
If Ms. Bryden has the information at hand, that's great. If not, I was just going to make a suggestion.
I did warn Mr. Nicol I was going to ask this question.
Yes, and Mr. Nicol forgot. What I was, if it's all right with you, Mayor, what I would suggest is that the clerk proceeding with the votes on the other two public hearing bylaws. We'll get the information later in the meeting and we'll come back to it. I apologize for not flagging that.
No, that's okay. And I think that probably makes sense. Like, it would be probably most appropriate to have that information, like, for me before voting on it. So I think that makes sense. I don't want to hold up the meeting, but if we could proceed in that way, I think that works for me. Sorry, folks. That wasn't meant to be such a curveball.
Okay, we'll just get the next step sorted out. So we'll take that out of the remaining votes for the readings, and then we can come back to that once we get that information. Mr. Nicol, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Bryden, I believe, has the information now and can outline this so we don't need to throw any more curves in this one.
Perfect. Let's save some procedural complexities. Go ahead, Ms. Bryden.
Thank you, through the chair, and I apologize. So this was specifically related to the lands on Parliament Avenue, and the section being repealed was within the Lakeview Albert Park neighborhood plan, and it's related to the land use guidelines, B, open space, and the buffer related to passive park areas, and landscaping, making that the buffer for passive park areas, say between Hudson Park and Rawlinson Crescent Park, via landscaping from athletic fields and Area B, to maintain linkage between park areas by ensuring common frontage on both sides of Parliament Avenue. And then figure 2.41, the areas policy area B, which changes low to medium intensity commercial access to be determined by city standards. So it's just directly right out of the OCP.
Okay, thank you. And just, again, apologies. I was hoping, I didn't mean for this to delay things, but the reason why I asked about it is because it just said obsolete policy. And so when I look through these each meeting, I'm like, okay, I remember what that was about, before I'm voting on the bylaw. And this time, there wasn't enough information for me to recall what it was talking about. So that's just, I guess, a flag for the future. And again, thanks, folks. Sorry that we spent multiple minutes on this. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from council members? Seeing none, I will get the clerk to start the vote on the second reading of all three bylaws.
Through you, Mayor, motion for second reading is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, can you please do consent for third reading of the bylaws?
I move, seconded by Councillor Bezo, that bylaws number 2026-6, 2026-18, and 2026-20 go to third reading at this meeting.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the motion for consent for third reading is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, can you please do final reading of the bylaws?
I move, seconded by Councillor Rastovich, the bylaws number 2026-6, 6-18, and -20 be read a third time.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the motion for third reading is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to our delegation related to item CR 26-38, and I'd like to call upon delegation DE 26-38, Jeff Campbell. Afternoon, Mr. Campbell. Once you're settled there, I'll get you to introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing today, what city or town you reside in. You'll have 5 minutes to address council, after which you'll have the opportunity to respond to any questions. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Jeff Campbell. I'm the president of CCI National in South Saskatchewan chapter, and I'm also on the executive for the national board. I live in Regina, and I'm here today on the early adopter program for the waste. I think this is something that has been on the works for about 4 or 5 years in negotiations, and finally got to a point where we are going to, we're in favor of this. And the big reason we are is that we have 926 condominium owners that have been put in a pickle, and this is a way out for them. Some of them have already done some of the work to it now. We have met with quite a few of them, but not just them. We actually are getting a lot of information now from property owners that own multifamily homes that are saying, hey, how are you guys doing this? And it seems to be working really well. We haven't pulled the pin on the education yet because you haven't voted on it yet, which is hopefully today. We would like to, in cooperation with the city, to work on educational. I know that my meeting yesterday with National Council, I'm happy to tell everybody that it looks like our national conference is going to be brought to Regina. So that's something I think the mayor and council I'd like to talk about. But there are a lot of good things with this early adopter program, and I think it's through consultation, through advice and different programs. I think we're now getting there. A lot of the information that we had is now being implemented within this early adopter program, and I think it's going to be a huge success for you. So I'm hoping that you all vote for it.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Does any member have questions for our delegation? I don't see any. I think we had a great conversation last time, so thanks for presenting today, and you can return to the gallery. Thank you. Okay, we'll now consider item CR 26-38, Early Adopter Incentive Enhancements Program Update. And I will ask Deputy Mayor Mancinelli to introduce the report, please.
Okay. So when we made the shift to yard waste as a city as a whole, condos, industrial, commercial, and institutional properties didn't have a stream to be able to meet the new need. It's been kind of tricky to get off the ground due to infrastructure and the type of different developments. According to the delegation, what was heard, that administration did a very good job on taking in information and trying to devise a program that moves this forward, incentivizes people to make the change, and maybe some businesses to offer the services within our city, so we can make this a positive move forward and get better at looking after our waste.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I have someone move the report? Councillor Bezo, and seconder, Councillor Burton. Councillor Bezo, would you like to speak to the report?
Yes, actually, thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mayor, and through the chair. I'd like to thank CCI Jeff Campbell for coming here and working diligently with administration to get to a position that's amicable and agreeable for the early adopter program. So thank you for your hard efforts, Jeff.
Excellent, thank you. Does any other member of council have a question, or questions, I should say? See no other questions. Councillor Bezo, would you like to close debate?
Yes, please.
I'll take that as no further comments. Okay, great. So with that, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the motion is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you very much. Okay, at the call of the chair, I'm going to just move to the delegations related to MN 26-4 as they're here in the gallery. So just so we don't keep them waiting. So with that, I'd like to call upon delegation DE 26-39, Julian Branch. Okay, and once you're settled, I'll get you to introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing today, if any, the city or town you're residing. You'll have 5 minutes to address council, after which you'll have the opportunity to respond to any questions members of council have for you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
My name is Julian Branch. I represent myself as a private citizen. I sit on the board of Prevent Cancer Now. I'm not representing that organization today. Your Worship, members of council, this marks my 5th time before Regina City Council on the topic of asbestos cement water pipes. In general, when I raise this topic, most times I'm ignored, sometimes I'm belittled, sometimes I'm insulted, but mainly I'm just ignored. I am pleased to see Councillor Zakidniak's motion. It makes sense and it is long overdue. If Council is taking steps to accelerate the replacement of lead service connectors, it should also be doing the exact same thing for asbestos cement water pipes. The city says there are 500 kilometers of old asbestos cement water pipes in Regina. We know what the expansive clay does to our pipes. It breaks them in record numbers. There were at least 145 asbestos cement water pipe breaks in the city of Regina last year. The water was tested for asbestos at 5 of those locations after the pipes were repaired. The city maintains that no fibers were detected in the water. The city does not notify residents when an asbestos cement water pipe breaks. The city refers to the remaining asbestos cement water pipes in Regina as, quote, sound, while at the same time noting that the pipes have been breaking in high numbers since the 1980s. There is so much asbestos cement water pipe in Regina, and it is breaking in such high numbers that 2 decades ago, the city contributed $5 million toward a $34 million research facility at the U of R to study the pipes. 10 very detailed, very specific studies confirmed the expansive clay soil is breaking the pipes, that the fibers are entering the water, and they can cause cancer. In 2010, scientists urged immediate steps be taken in order to, quote, ensure a safe and clean drinking water supply, unquote, in the city of Regina. The city maintains there were 531 kilometers of asbestos cement water pipe in Regina in 2010. That means 31 kilometers of pipe has been replaced or relined in the past 16 years. That is embarrassing. The issue is not confined to Regina. The old pipes have reached the end of their useful lives and are breaking with increasing frequency around the globe. Other jurisdictions are funding the accelerated replacement of asbestos cement water pipes. Malaysia, 40,000 kilometers, done by 2040. Scotland, 143 million pounds to replace 6,000 kilometers of asbestos cement water pipe to speed that up. In Kenya, they're replacing asbestos cement water pipes. The reason given in Kenya? To ease the high cancer burden. Every member of council is well aware of this issue. just last month, there was another major asbestos cement water pipe break in Whitmore Park. Residents in Hillsdale are now urged to check their faucet screens for a sediment buildup. What is the sediment buildup in an old asbestos cement water pipe? Residents are told this sediment buildup does not pose a health concern. The sad truth is we can expect more of this as the pipes continue to age, deteriorate, and break. Councillor Zakidniak's motion is a good first step. We can no longer afford to ignore this issue. It needs to be dealt with, and it should be addressed head-on by the city which once led the national research in this area. I look forward to administration's response later this year. I will close by quoting a Regina City Councillor who said this when asbestos cement water pipes were being discussed just last fall. Quote, "In closing, there's nothing more important we do as a city than provide safe water. We have to prioritize the safety of our neighbors." Closed quotes. I couldn't agree more. It's time to start walking the walk. Thank you for your attention, and I would be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your presentation. I see questions popping up. Go ahead, Councillor Burton.
Thank you for your presentation through the chair. What is Health Canada's recommendation regarding asbestos in water pipes?
Thank you for asking. Health Canada follows the lead of the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization for decades has maintained that there is no consistent, convincing evidence that ingested asbestos is harmful. Health Canada follows that. Health Canada just is concluding a review on asbestos in drinking water. It's maintained that since 1989. And I hope that the City of Regina submitted a proposal to that public policy review, given the information you have. And I just want to say one more thing about the World Health Organization. It does say there is no consistent, convincing evidence that ingested, drinking, swallowing asbestos is harmful. The World Health Organization also published another document in 2004, 2 decades ago, on the precautionary principle. It's called the Precautionary Principle Protecting Public Health, the Environment, and the Future of Our Children. And I just want to quote from the foreword of that report. It said, quote, "Irreparable mistakes must be avoided, such as those related to tobacco or asbestos, when people waited for definitive evidence far too long before springing to action," unquote. And I'll just say this one more thing. The US EPA in 1992 regulated asbestos in water after 2 decades of study. They said it causes cancer.
Thank you, through the chair. As we make decisions as the prioritization of our capital expenditures and renewal of our infrastructure, how would you contrast Health Canada's recommendation of lead pipes versus asbestos?
You asked me that last time. I'm here to talk about asbestos. I don't talk about lead pipes. I just say that if lead pipes are being accelerated, asbestos, cement, water pipes should be accelerated as well.
As we made our decisions, I was in favor of fluoridation of the water, and I said I follow Health Canada's recommendations. Do you think it would be wise for me to wait for Health Canada if there is a study being undertaken, for me to wait for that advice to come from Health Canada, and if they change their decision, at that point I could then make a change in my vote?
I wouldn't wait for Health Canada to change its decision on this point. Health Canada is going to take at least another year before it decides whether or not it's okay to drink asbestos in water. I'd go back to those studies that the City of Regina paid $5 million for with the National Research Council, because those 10 studies, if you'd care to read them, I don't know if anybody has yet, they say cancer. They start off by saying health concerns, and a 2010 study says cancer.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Zakidniak, go ahead.
Okay, I want to go back to one of the points, a question about one of the points that you're first addressing in your submission. Mm-hmm. Regardless of the health concerns, you are pointing out about how frequently these pipes are breaking. So can you just expand on that a bit? Why do the asbestos cement water pipes break so much in Regina?
Sure. It's the expansive clay soil. It contracts and expands with moisture or lack thereof. So in a September, you'll see in a dry year, you'll see a lot more asbestos cement water pipes. Again, it's all in those National Research Council studies, but it's there are 2 main ways that the pipes are a problem. One is a soft water running through the pipe. It deteriorates it from the inside. That's not Regina so much. We have the expansive clay soil, which is actually breaking the pipes. And when they break, when you read the research on asbestos cement pipes, it's not just a hairline crack, it's designated as a catastrophic break.
Right. And so, and you mentioned all the places. Yes, we have the clay soil in Regina. These are reaching the end of their useful life across the world and breaking. So aside from the potential health impacts, there's also the financial impact of going to these. Do you agree that there's the financial concerns of just running around fixing all these pipes that are continuing to break instead of just accelerating them?
Absolutely. And again, when you look at the documentation from the city, you'll see between 2010 and 2022, there were 2,477 asbestos cement water main breaks. It's the main type of pipe that breaks in the city of Regina. We've known that for decades. All those NRC studies point to that. So I'm just saying we need to make a plan. We need to stop ignoring this and pretending it's not a problem and pretending that the rest of the pipes are sound and that they have a 100-year lifespan, because city documents show that the pipes have a 50-year lifespan. And then in 2021, that jumped to 100 years with no data to back that up. The pipes are breaking. It's a fact. It will only get worse as time goes on. It's time to make a plan.
And how many years have you been working on this issue and advocating for replacement of asbestos cement pipes?
Yeah, I discovered this in 2012 when I was working at the University of Regina. I was researching another water-related issue, and I stumbled across this in your old budget documents. And I've been working on this ever since. I'm jumping on a plane to the UK on Friday. I've been invited by the British Occupational Hygiene Society to present my research at their annual conference next week. And you'll be pleased to know that Regina figures prominently in that presentation.
Okay. And so do you regularly provide your research and findings of your research to other cities and municipalities and at conferences?
Yes, I do. I've been down to San Diego 2 years ago. I'm going over to the UK next week. I'm on a podcast tomorrow. I'm on webcasts. This is a growing thing. And the reason I'm going to the UK is because the pipes are that much older. They're experiencing a lot more breakage, a lot more asbestos in the water. The Drinking Water Inspectorate in Britain does not regulate asbestos in water. America is the only one. America is the only one that regulates asbestos in water right now. And the rest of the people hide behind the World Health Organization and say, there's no consistent, convincing evidence. I would argue that that's an extraordinarily high evidentiary bar to hurdle.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Turnbull, go ahead.
Hello, thank you for being here. I'm somewhat familiar with asbestos abatement in construction sense, so I wanted to ask you the question, it's more when the asbestos is disturbed. So when a pipe breaks, is it just, do things change with the health codes or anything like that at the point of the break or any of that, or is it just seen the same as whether it's disturbed or not disturbed?
It's the friable. In the industry, they call it friable asbestos. As long as it's in the ceiling and a popcorn ceiling, it's okay. As long as it's in the pipe and maintained within the pipe, it's okay. But the pipes are breaking. There is evidence that, for instance, in Temuka, New Zealand, as part of my presentation, a lot of asbestos cement water pipes, a lot of soft water, a lot of earthquakes, a lot of asbestos in the water. There's a picture in my presentation of a faucet screen clogged with asbestos. They call it a white fibrous paste. In Brockway, Pennsylvania, so bad, 1.3 billion fibers in a liter of water. The American standard is 7 million fibers. So it's literally off the MFL chart. We don't have a standard here. We have no idea how much asbestos is in the water. There's not a lab in Canada that tests for asbestos in water. We have to send it to the US. There's no business case for it here. We need regulation. We need federal regulation. And one other thing I would just mention while I'm on that, there's a huge pot of federal infrastructure money for infrastructure right now.
Right. And I guess with the whole asbestos abatement thing, again, I know it from the construction perspective, which is inhaling. So what would be the difference between the inhalation and the ingesting? And are they just covered differently or
I'm not a scientist, but I have read up a bit on this. And I can tell you that the EPA rationale for regulation of asbestos in water is very clear. it says it passes through the gastrointestinal tract, and that's very important. Ingested asbestos passes through the gastrointestinal tract. So just think of this. If you're an asbestos worker or somebody that's working with asbestos, when you breathe it in, the first thing you're going to do is clear your throat because those microscopic fibers are irritating your throat. What's the next thing you do? You swallow asbestos. That's the rationale for the EPA. Not so much as the asbestos cement pipes, but when you swallow asbestos, it's in your system. It passes through the gastrointestinal tract. Doesn't matter if it comes from sputum or an asbestos cement water pipe. That's why the U.S. regulates asbestos in water.
Okay, and in the U.S., is it regulated
Federally.
nationally?
Yes.
So, and then in Canada, is it?
There's no regulation.
Do any other municipalities have any regulation?
None.
Or
There's no federal regulation. And most municipalities will tell you, because I've seen dozens of these, especially when the W5 story came out, all the journalists found out across Canada and asked their various municipalities, and municipalities came back and they said, we meet or exceed all federal requirements for asbestos in water. There are none. It's easy to meet or exceed requirements when there are none.
Okay. So I can't comment on health regulations, but breaking pipes is definitely a problem, 100%. And breaking pipes within Regina is also a problem. Do you have any idea how much more costly it is to fix a broken pipe versus fixing it beforehand? Like maintaining it versus fixing it must have significant cost gaps.
Yeah, there are a couple of things on that. One of the favored ways of remedying this situation, if I may, in Regina is relining the pipes. You bring in FurPal, you subcontract to FurPal, and FurPal comes in and relines the asbestos cement water pipes. And when they're doing that, they hook up a temporary water supply. And I think you've seen those pipes running around Regina up and down streets, and they're attached to a fire hydrant. And there's a 1983 study out of the United States of America says the worst thing you can do is attach an asbestos cement water pipe to a fire hydrant because of the water pressure. And that same report, which I've sent to some of you, shows that the fiber count of an asbestos cement water pipe and a fire hydrant was 10 billion fibers per liter. So that's where residents in Regina are getting their temporary drinking water, from fire hydrants when their pipes are being relined. And relining pipes is a stopgap Band-Aid measure. They need to be replaced. And I can just tell you that in 2006, when this was an issue for City Council, way back when, if you look, you'll see a study was done, and it was going to cost $300 million. Sounds like Austin Powers. $300 million to replace the entire water distribution system. Half of that would have been asbestos cement pipes. In 2006, it would have cost Regina City Council $150 million to fix this problem. It chose not to do that.
This is probably a question for administration, but the relining of the pipes, does that help with the structural integrity and lifespan of the pipes too, or is it simply for the asbestos?
I'll take a quick shot at a 2017 report that the City of Regina has on relining the pipes, and it talked about the different classifications of relining. I think it's class 4 liners here you've got. And that report says that we don't know if the liner, it's an epoxy resin liner, I believe, we don't know if that debonds. They use the word debond from the inside of the pipe in future breaks. Well, of course it would, because if the pipe breaks in a catastrophic fashion, there's nothing for that liner to bond with. So yes, it will debond from the inside of the pipe, and you're right back to the same old problem you had.
Okay, thank you so much for being here, and I'll ask administration those questions.
Sure.
Councillor Rasevich, go ahead.
Through the chair, just again about Health Canada.
Yeah.
So, Health Canada, what do they say again about asbestos pipes? What do they say?
They say there's no consistent, convincing evidence that ingested asbestos is harmful. That's the ruling of Health Canada. Therefore, we will not set a maximum acceptable contaminant level, a MAC.
Okay. And obviously, would you agree that most people, I guess, would take their information from Health Canada?
I would agree with that, but if you look at the document that Health Canada just recently had out for its public input process, 63 pages, extraordinarily selective to the degree that when they talk about those NRC reports and they alter sentences to leave out the fact that asbestos is getting into the water.
So you would probably, I'm not trying to give your answer, would you give faith in Health Canada on this?
I'll answer it this way. How can drinking asbestos cause cancer in Americans and not Canadians?
Yeah.
America's regulated this, spent tens, probably hundreds of millions of dollars since 1992 to regulate asbestos in water. You'll see the fact sheets say it causes cancer.
I don't know if I'll be allowed to ask this question, but is there anything other, I guess asbestos is a mineral, right? Obviously we mine it. We have other maybe chemicals we put in our water where Health Canada says it's okay. Do you have any other ones that you would?
Well, the question I'd ask is, those National Research Council studies for which you people paid $5 million, for which the city of Regina paid $5 million, say it's a health concern.
Would you agree that there's lots of other studies with other, I guess, whether it's a chemical or a mineral that's in our water?
Oh, there are plenty of studies, sure. Yeah.
That would agree or disagree with, say, asbestos.
Councillor, I think I know where you want with that, and this is about the concrete asbestos pipes, just to be clear.
Well, hey, all these things overlap. Anyways, okay, thank you. I think everybody knows where I'm going.
Yeah, Whitmore Park's full of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I got Councillor Sickleys. Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Hi, Julian. Thank you for coming. I was going to say thank you for your patience, but I guess you need, have little patience in order to be effective in what you're doing. So thanks for that. When we first met, because you're in my ward, I tried to jump on this. I tried to get a federal person in front of you. Here you are going to other countries talking about it. Have you ever had a chance, other than that one NDP thing you went to, I think last year, have you ever had a chance to talk to our government about this to sway their opinion?
Yep, I've met with my MLA. I've met with my MP twice. I've been down to Parliament Hill for a parliamentary news conference with Elizabeth May, Green Party leader. I'd urge you to read her submission to the Health Canada. She calls it a national emergency. A federal party leader calls asbestos in Canadian water a national emergency. Pretty smart environmental lawyer.
So obviously you're frustrated, and we have to make decisions based on certain guidelines, so we're kind of stuck. And even if the edict came down from the mountain tomorrow that you got to get rid of all this stuff, where do we start in terms of dollars and cents? Any idea there?
Well, it's interesting that, the question you just asked was posed to me by a scientist who wrote those NRC reports. Even if we have a big problem here, where do we start? Because that scientist at the National Research Council, in his studies, said it's a health concern, said it causes cancer. In 2012, when the media interviewed that scientist, he said there's no evidence that drinking asbestos is harmful. I interviewed that scientist in 2023, and he acknowledged that he was writing about cancer. He was talking about cancer back in 2010 and 2011.
Is it true that Canada was the #1 manufacturer of these types of pipes that were sold around the world?
Canada produced 40% of the world's chrysotile asbestos that went into these pipes, and 95% of that chrysotile was exported around the world. And that probably answers your next question. Why are people afraid of this? It's the cost of replacing the pipes, and it's the liability.
Yeah. Well, on a positive, I want to thank you for coming to my coffee talks and suggesting the renaming from Seekleys Talks to Seekleys Listens. You get full credit for that. Thank you very much. And who knows, maybe I'll live long enough to see the federal government do something about this. The relining, I don't know much about.
Councillor, we just got to stick to questions with the delegate, please.
Oh, sorry.
You can make a statement once we're
I feel like I'm at coffee talk. Sorry. Sorry about that. What's your expectation of us? What do you think we should be doing?
Well, unfortunately, Councillor Seekleys, the problem will only get worse, and it is getting worse around the world. In the 14 years that I've been doing this, it's steadily increased in pipe breakage around the world. People are starting to pay attention. That's what I mentioned. Other jurisdictions are accelerating the replacement of these pipes. They know that these pipes, the lifespan is not 100 years. They know that. And the evidence is clear. In South Africa, I'm seeing stories on an almost daily basis out of South Africa. It can no longer be ignored. We need to make a plan to deal with this. And the federal government, I'm cautiously optimistic that the federal government will make a decision to regulate asbestos in water. I can tell you that this is regularly debated at IARC, the International Association for Research on Cancer, run by the WHO. And the last time they voted on whether or not ingested asbestos should be a cancer-causing problem, the vote was a split. It was dead even, 50-50. So awareness is growing about this, and awareness is growing that we need to do something about it.
Thanks, Julian. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I see no other questions, so thank you for your presentation today. You can return to the gallery. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call upon Delegation DE 26-40, Kelly Miller. Okay, and once you're seated, I'll get you to introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing today, if any, what city or town you reside in. You'll have 5 minutes to address council, after which you can respond to any questions we have for you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Kelly Miller. I'm a resident of North Central in Regina, and I'm representing myself. The biggest issue we have had in recent decades in Regina is delays that the cost balloon. As it was mentioned, this would have been $150 million back in 2006, and it's a much bigger problem now. We now have a $700 million infrastructure deficit. We need to address the lead and the asbestos pipes sooner rather than later. We need to stop lining asbestos pipes to save money and delaying the replacements, and instead replace with safe alternatives. Residents are being exposed to a carcinogen because of the deterioration of the aging pipes with drinking water distribution systems and the thousands of kilometers of pipes that are at the end of their lifespan. Asbestos pipes account for almost all water main breaks, increasing the health hazard. City admits that the water main breaks lead to sediment that is built up and have warned of the residents to remove it when there's water main breaks, and we need to stop the present Band-Aid system of whack-a-mole when these pipes burst, causing a greater risk, and just replace them faster. We need to replace these pipes when we're doing construction, like how the 104-year-old pipes were replaced at the yards. We have in the plan for the federal funding we just got for the old Taylor Field pipes, money for pipes there too. We should apply, there's $50 billion in infrastructure money the feds are giving out right now. We should apply for everything that we can and include pipes in it so that when you're doing, let's say, SAS Drive, apply the same way that you did with the yards and with Old Taylor Field so that you include the pipes and you get federal money for that. It's more cost effective in the long term that instead of lining and then having them break and then replacing them later at more cost. And it's also better for the safety of residents. Regina has gotten federal funding to improve water infrastructure needed to build more homes faster. I believe we could also get federal funding for this as it's a health hazard, and we should also apply for everything. We should also campaign for the federal standards to be like in the US, where the EPA has regulated asbestos in the water. This would require the federal government to do more. As it was brought up, Elizabeth May presently does have a motion to change this. This is something that will be coming up, and we should support that because that is a way potentially for us to get more funding for infrastructure, and we have an infrastructure deficit in Regina. Protecting the health of residents is important. And thank you for your time.
Great, thank you very much. A couple questions for you. Councillor Mancinelli, go ahead.
Thank you. Listening to your presentation, your mention of the renewals the city's investing in already. Through the chair, are you aware that for over a decade with the residential road renewal plan, as well as the city's renewal plans that show up in the yearly budget and the capital budget, as well as the utility budget, that the city's been planning out investments in pipe replacement for well over a decade, coinciding investigation into the state of the pipes and trying to make the smartest investment where to overlay road renewal with the pipes underneath so we don't have to double up on work in the coming decades. That this has been a consistent work plan that they've been working on.
Yes, but it is not most cost effective in the long run. You're looking at short run to be lining them and delaying and not reaching our goals for how much we're supposed to be replacing asbestos pipes.
Thanks. I'll follow up with the answers on costing from administration. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zakiniak, go ahead.
Thank you. To that point, you were saying it's more cost effective to expedite our timeline rather than just go around fixing them as they're breaking.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned we're not meeting our targets. So for whatever reason, we have a target of 10 kilometers and we're currently replacing 7 to 9 kilometers. So you're suggesting A, we're not meeting our targets. B, it costs more money if we're just going around fixing stuff all the time. Is that correct?
Also, I mean, if we'd just done the whole thing in like 2006, it would be 150 million.
Yeah.
And it could be over now. Like, we keep delaying everything and doing Band-Aid solutions and the Band-Aids fall off. And in the long run, it costs us more. Yeah. And you can look at, that's been the whole story of the city council for decades as far as delays, balloon costs, putting things off.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you for your presentation today. You can return to the gallery. Thank you. Okay, we have a communication on item MN 26-4, expediting the renewal of asbestos cement water pipes from Dale Johnson. Can I have a motion to receive and file this communication as item CP 26-22? Councillor Mancinelli, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Siklees, any opposed? And carried. Okay, we will now consider item MN 26-4, expediting the renewal of asbestos cement water pipes. Councillor Zakiniak, can you please introduce your motion?
Yes, and sorry, just to make sure I understand, first I need a seconder and then I can, what exactly is it you want from me right this moment?
Yeah, introduce the concept of your motion and then I'll ask, and I'll get a seconder, and then you'll be able to speak to it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So this motion is called expediting the renewal of asbestos cement water pipes. The intent is for us to move faster as in the replacement of our asbestos cement water mains because we're not meeting our targets and they're breaking at a high rate.
Okay, can I get a seconder for the motion? Councillor Flores. Okay, Councillor Zakiniak, go ahead.
Thank you. So I just want to wait till we have everyone's attention because, thank you. I want to set aside for now potential health concerns in relation to asbestos cement water pipes. That isn't why I'm bringing this motion forward. I think they're valid and, we don't regulate the health, we rely on Health Canada. So if that's valid or not valid information, I don't really wish to delve into that. I don't think we'll have a good answer to that today. But what we do know, and the reason why I brought this motion forward, is that we're not meeting our targets, that we have targets for replacing 10 kilometers of asbestos cement water pipes a year. We're not meeting them. We know that we've expedited the replacement of other water mains. We're working on a expedited replacement plan for lead service connections. That's good. That's important. But we also know that we're spending a lot of money on emergency repairs for asbestos cement water pipes. That is my concern. We're not meeting our targets. These emergency repairs not only cost a lot of money, they disrupt our our construction cycle, our repair cycle, the work that we have planned for the year, should we be moving faster? Would we save money if we were meeting our targets or replacing them faster that we wouldn't have to use for emergency water breaks? And so all I'm asking for us to do is to get some information on expediting the timeline. If we met our targets, which is 10 kilometers a year, if we moved faster, 15, if we even did 20 kilometers a year, what would be the impacts of those? And I did speak with administration when crafting this, and my understanding, and we can check with them right away, is this is a useful exercise for them to do, for us to consider how to best utilize our limited budget. It was also noted, and this is part of the motion, there is infrastructure federal money available. Should we use it on this? I don't know. Again, that's part of the motion for us to consider. If this is useful, what does administration recommend? Do we continue with the status quo? Do we move faster? And so maybe I just want to pass it over to administration right now so they can speak to their what their thoughts are, you know, on this motion and the utility of it, of gathering this information, because that is all I'm asking for.
Mr. Doney, go ahead.
Through the chair, so as outlined by Councillor Skidniak, administration is supportive of bringing this information forward, so council has a full picture of what our water system looks like, primarily our asbestos cement water main renewal plan, and how we can reduce that break history over time.
Thank you. And so also for administration, so I outlined in my motion that the vast majority of our breaks occur with these particular pipes. That's why we're talking about these pipes, because these are the ones that are breaking. So if administration can describe why is that the case? Am I telling the truth that these are the ones that break the quickest? I know that it's our soil conditions lead to that, but if administration can just clarify, is it the case that these are the ones that are breaking, and why is that true? That would probably be helpful too.
Mr. Doney?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct, that our largest, the most number of breaks that we see is in our asbestos cement water main breaks. Primarily they break because of our shifting clay soil. So if it's really dry or really wet, our clay soils shift, and a asbestos cement pipe is not strong in a shifting force. So we see lots of breaks. I give you numbers of a range between 170 and 240 breaks is what we've seen over the last 5 years, with an average of about 210 breaks per year.
And is it accurate that, so if we have a water break, it disrupts our regular cycle of what we thought we would be able to accomplish with other projects in a construction year, because then we have to deal with an emergency water break?
Through the chair, yes, that's accurate. So we've got crews that are focused on replacing and repairing any water main breaks, and if it happens to occur in a construction site, of course that has a larger impact, and there's an impact on everyone when a water main break occurs, whether it's residents temporarily being out of water, or the impact on the roads and the above infrastructure. So there's many different impacts to residents.
And it's also my understanding that because it's also the disturbance that can cause these pipes, like, so it's shifting soils or just disturbance in the ground that can cause these pipes to break, that sometimes what happens is they will break, we'll go fix it, and then a few feet away from that, there will be another break. So I don't know if it's like when we go to repair, that causes even more soil disturbance and then can lead to future breaks. Is that accurate, or can you just describe that for us?
Yeah, through the chair, generally that is accurate. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but of course, when we have a water main break, we have a large amount of water that is flowing in and through our clay soils, and that will cause it to shift, cause the pipe bed to be unstable, and can increase the risk of future water main breaks in the near proximity of the first break.
Okay. And so for me, I think the underlying question for me is, are we currently caught in a bit of a vicious cycle where we're just spending more money in breaks that we could instead be using to invest in expediting our timeline, accelerating our replacement, and so I want to explore that question further, because if we could save money in repairs and instead invest that in expediting our replacement, that seems like a better use of our finite resources to me. And so obviously I don't have that information off the top of my head, and so this is why I'm asking for us to gather that information so we can make an informed decision about what our target should be moving forward in replacing our water network pipes. I'm good for now, thanks.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up to questions from council members. Councillor Sickley, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. What reason do we need a motion to do something we're already doing? Couldn't this just be an email or a discussion piece where in many cases I've done the same? I thought I needed a motion for something and admin has said, no, George, we're working on it. We'll come back with a report.
Mr. Doney, go ahead.
Through the chair, so during our utility budget, we present a utility budget to council every year outlining the cost to maintain and upgrade water, wastewater, stormwater systems. What this report will do will show how much we're spending, particularly on asbestos cement water main pipes and what that break history looks like, and really compare the, I'll call it the operating costs or the maintenance costs of fixing water main breaks versus investing more into being more proactive and replacing more.
And do you need a motion for that?
Through the chair, in order for that to come in a public forum, a motion is a good
Gotcha.
method.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Rasevich, go ahead.
Through the chair, so I know we have a road renewal program. Does this, if we have roads that are having more breaks, and obviously a lot of time, I guess we're associating a lot of those breaks with asbestos, those pipes are getting fixed. Like, I guess I'm going to say right now, I know on Dolphin Bay, the water line is going to be replaced with new pipe. So is that not part of the process of what we're already doing in terms of replacing? I mean, do we want to go down? So I guess the other question is, do we want to go down roads? We know it's asbestos, but do we want to go and dig that road up? When it's not ready to be dug, be dug up potentially, because that's a whole extra cost. So we're staging it, right? So I guess the first question was, are we already not targeting roads that are having many breaks?
Mr. Doney, go ahead.
Through the chair, so yes, we have moved towards integrated planning and construction, and so when we are going into an area, and this is primarily residential areas, because we're talking about small diameter water mains when we're talking about AC water mains. So when we go into an area, we're going to ensure that we're making conscious decisions of what we're going to do with the underground pipes and what we're going to do with the road work. So in the example that you just used on Dolphin Bay, we are going in there and replacing the water main, which is an asbestos cement water main, and we are rebuilding the road. So there's different treatments that we do for underground pipes, but it is an integrated plan with underground pipes and the road work.
Yeah. So we're replacing the asbestos will be replaced in this instance.
Through the chair, in the example you're referring to, yes, that water main will be replaced.
Yeah. But typically, would you say that a lot of the roads that we are fixing and replacing are asbestos because they are breaking? And that, just like Councillor Zakidniak mentioned, as you mentioned, we have about 210 a year?
Through the chair. So, yes, all of the majority of the water mains that we either renew or replace are asbestos cement water mains because they have a high break history. When we're looking at locations like Dudney or Sass Drive, that's a larger diameter cast iron pipe.
Yeah.
Those will also be replaced because they're 100 years old and will break in the near future. But from a kilometer perspective, the largest amount of water mains that we either renew or replace are asbestos cement.
Yeah. So basically, we already are. We're doing what we're talking about here already. We're replacing many roads and many water lines because there are asbestos because they have a high frequency of breaks. Right? Correct?
Through the chair, yes, we're doing this already. The report will come back and outline, should we do more or not? Is it better to invest more into our underground pipes so that we reduce the maintenance costs over the long term?
Right.
And the report will also outline, if you're going to do that, you likely should invest more in the roads because it's the integrated planning.
Because I mean, with what's a water main break, an average cost $10,000 to $15,000?
Through the chair, yeah, approximately $15,000 for a water main break.
Okay, so I use 10,000. So if there's 210 at 10,000, that's 2.1 million. Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair. So, around 3 to 4 million is what we would have in budget, and that number fluctuates because we might have 150 breaks one year or 300 breaks the next year.
Right. Okay. It just feels like we're already doing.
Speed it up.
yeah, I guess we want to speed it up, but we got to find the money from somewhere else. Correct?
Through the chair, so what we will do is outline the pros and cons of the different options that are outlined in the report. So 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers per year, and we'll outline the pros and the cons and the cost associated with that. And then the cost for underground infrastructure typically comes from the utility bill, and the cost for road work typically comes from the tax bill.
Because at the moment, we're not expediting anything because Health Canada is saying it's not an issue. So that therefore is not considered not a risk, but I guess the moment something would come out from Health Canada, then we would say, oh, it's a risk. So then we would probably jump on it and try to do things quicker. I mean, that's what would logically make sense to me. And I guess I'm not going to ask you for an answer. I'm just sort of talking out loud because that's the truth. It's the same as fluoride. You know what? If Health Canada says it's okay, I guess it's okay. But we could take 3 million and fix some asbestos pipes. Anyways, I'm done. What's the truth?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Flores, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, how would, first of all, I just want to state I am in support of this ask. It is asking for information so we can make some evidence-based decisions in the future. And it looks like administration has looked at this and it makes sense. I just want to understand how would this acceleration fit within the acceleration of the lead line removal? Just because they're both underground, and would this report tell us how that could work in tandem to perhaps increase both at the same time, or how would it work?
Mr. Doney?
Through the chair, we'll need to take that away and do some thinking about that. We are bringing forward a report in the fall of 2026 that responds to a different motion about accelerating lead service connections. So we'll have that information. There are many locations that have asbestos cement water mains and lead locations. So of course, from a delivery perspective, those would align. And so that'll be a consideration in the report.
Perfect. And then what guidance would council get in terms of prioritizing replacement of both or either?
Through the chair, just to clarify, between lead and
correct, yes, yeah, asbestos.
Through the chair, so we would recommend that we follow Health Canada guidelines, and Health Canada clearly says that there's no safe level of lead in drinking water, so that would be administration's recommendation to replace lead service connections.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, I think that's it. I do see the concern for this, and I appreciate all of the information that's shared with us, and I think because this is asking for that evidence for us to make decisions in the future. I see that something that is important, because as evidence evolves and changes, we have to be able to have the information we need to make those decisions, especially when they involve drinking water and when they involve large infrastructure projects. So thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in the middle and just ask a couple questions. First, just from administration, do you have the capacity to do this report, run the numbers, bring this back to us? Are you comfortable with the timing, comfortable with the information and the time to get that information?
Through the chair, I'm going to ask Mr. Gunther to give his perspective on the timing, as his team will be doing the majority of the drafting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're comfortable with the timeline. Through the chair, comfortable with the timeline, yes.
Okay, thank you. And so currently when we do our capital planning, capital investment, I'm assuming we do analysis when it comes to relining versus replacement versus timing of trying to coincide road renewals and that. That's, I'm assuming, is already happening, but can you just comment on that?
Through the chair, so yes, absolutely. In all of our construction planning that goes back many years before you actually see the construction project, we're coordinating undergrounds and road work. And when we say coordinating, there's many different ways to solve a problem. So if we're looking to renew an underground pipe, we can replace it or we can reline it. And if we're looking to improve the surface of a road, we can do a thin lift, we can do a rebuild or a rehabilitation. So there's lots of different treatment options. And it's a combination of different things that drive us to the solution. So if we've got a road that has lots of water main breaks and it's in poor condition already, we're going to do a replacement of that pipe and a rebuild of the road because you're ripping up the entire road right away. If the road's in pretty good shape and there's not a lot of concerns there, we've had a few water main breaks, then we're maybe going to reline that because we're going to try and save some funding and not rip up the entire road.
Thank you for that. So one of the items that was noted is our significant infrastructure deficit. Is there any difficulty if this came back and there was recommendations made and council changed direction in how we invested in our infrastructure, given that you just mentioned that there's years of planning that goes into the work ahead of us? What does that mean to administration's planning and timing and even cost if council starts to direct individual infrastructure initiatives outside of the holistic planning that already takes place?
Yeah, through the chair. And so as Councillor Sigidniak mentioned, that we had some conversations before, so it's really important in this motion. You'll see that it's a ramp up over 5 years. And so what we're recommending is that if council, we'll bring back the report, but nothing will change the next year because it takes a couple of years of planning. So we'll outline the costs, the pros and cons, and then if approved by council to accelerate something, it would ramp up over about 5 years.
Okay, thank you for that. With that last answer, I'm inclined, as Councillor Flores said, to and given the information I heard about having the capacity to pull this information together, I'm inclined to support and see the information, and we can kind of go from there. So I'll go to Councillor Turnbull next. Go ahead.
Thank you, and to the chair. I thank you, Councillor Zakiniak, for bringing this motion forward. I think one of the most expensive things is when the pipes actually burst. And I just wanted to give administration a chance to speak to the cost of fixing a broken pipe versus maintaining a pipe. But it's not just the pipe, it's everything that around it that breaks as well. If you could go over sort of like what happens when you fix a pipe versus when a pipe actually bursts and all the dominoes that fall and cost to the city.
Through the chair. So some of that information we can definitely analyze and bring back in a report. But as you can imagine, when a pipe breaks, there's many different impacts to that broken pipe. And so one is the impact to residents directly. So we might need to close down a road. Water might need to be shut off for a short period of time if it's a major break. And of course, you've got the risk of property damage. So some water main breaks do cause property damage if they're significant. And you've got the road infrastructure that is deteriorated when you're digging into it. So when you're cutting into a road, you are making that road in a poor condition. So those are just a few things off the top of my head of the impact of a water main break.
And so when you're fixing a broken pipe, that's when people's driveways get dug up and then maybe repaired with not the same materials, or maybe there's water damage to a house, and there's sort of a private citizen cost to the inconvenience as well, is there not?
Through the chair, absolutely. There's an inconvenience to residents. Typically, and not always, but typically the water mains are kind of in the road right away, and the water connection will be under someone's driveway. And so the water connections, like we mentioned, could be lead or many other different materials. But for an AC water main, it's typically in that road right away.
And does it happen when someone may wake up and their water's off because there's been a pipe burst down the street?
Through the chair, yes, that does happen. If the water main is large enough where we need to protect property, that water will be shut off, and residents may not have water when you wake up in the morning.
So if we were to even look at this from a service complaint way, we'd probably have a lot of service complaints just based on pipes breaking, from like water being turned off unexpectedly to roads closing to driveways being put together differently to roads never being put the same. Would you say a lot of our service requests have to do with this, at least in my ward?
Through the chair, yeah. So, in 2025, we had 243 water main breaks, and likely that was at least one call from every one of those water main breaks, but it could be many more than one call if it's impacting an entire block or a small area of the city. So yes, a lot of the service requests we receive are the impacts of water main breaks and the corresponding impacts to residents.
And then when something breaks and you put it back together, it's kind of like a broken bone. It never really goes back together again. And I find that a lot of my service complaints are again, like, come back here, they still haven't put it back together correct, it's still divoted here, or there's still a sinkhole, and that's all based on having to fix something that broke, correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. So when we fix a water main break, typically we are clamping that water main. So we may put in a new piece of water main, but there's many different ways to repair it. Of course, you're digging the road and you're causing disturbances there, and we will have settling in our roads. So it's very, very challenging, if not impossible, to put a road back to new condition after you've dug through it.
And then I guess what matters to some residents is even the aesthetics of putting everything back together again, especially when it's their own driveways.
Through the chair, yes, there's impacts to residents, and nobody wants to see cuts in a road, but that is definitely something that occurs when water main breaks occur.
Yeah, so I guess when we're doing this report, I don't think we probably have to put an amendment or anything. If you could sort of show a cost comparison between being proactive and fixing these pipes and the service calls related to these pipes versus just dealing with it to begin with. Because this is one of those things that's where you're fine, you're cruising on life, and then suddenly there's like an explosion of a pipe, and then everything is that. So I'm very supportive of this motion, and I'm very happy that you brought it forward, because a pipe exploding is very costly, more costly than fixing it, and very inconvenient, and so much to do with our city and just being good stewards of it. So I very much appreciate this coming forward. And obviously I'm in support. And if we could get some of those cost comparables in there and even service comparables, that'd be great.
Councillor Burton, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. You have described that pipes may fail, be repaired, and then an adjacent area may fail. Is there any predictor of where the next failure may occur?
Through the chair, there's not a precise predictor, but we can have pretty good ideas of the location, generally where they're going to occur. So we've got heat maps where we see water main breaks based on break history. So whether it's this block or that block, no, we can't determine that, but we would be able to determine generally what areas of the city is going to occur.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, because I had a main failed just down the road from us. It's one of the last sections of asbestos pipe in the city, and it failed, creating a big water storm in the winter. And if you're looking at the heat map, you might say it's not going to. But how many miles, through the chair, how many miles or percentage of pipes would need to be replaced to make a meaningful difference to the overall failure rate of existing pipes? Is there a direct correlation that if we replace 10% of the asbestos pipes, we'll see a 10% reduction in failure rates, or still you got to get to 40% before you might see something?
Through the chair, and so that's some of the work that we've done historically about our asset management plan, and that's where the target of 10 kilometers comes from. So the work that was done a few years ago, the objective was to get to 10 kilometers per year to keep the water main breaks at a steady amount. And so not really to decrease them, but to make them not get worse. And so that's the objective we're trying to achieve. Of course, if you want to reduce water main breaks, that number would need to increase.
So to get to, using the heat map and saying where some priorities and the odds of things getting to, is there if you spun the ACU wheel, the dollar ACU wheel, how much would it cost to get to some point where you could say we've made a meaningful difference?
Through the chair, I think to make a meaningful difference, what we would need to do is accelerate the amount of AC water mains that we are doing to reduce the break history in a shorter period of time. Of course, over 50 years, we're going to make that difference. But if we're looking for a difference in 10 years, this is what the analysis will need to do. But we're going to need to increase the amount of AC water mains that we renew.
Okay, thank you. I personally have asbestos pipes serving my residents. Yes, I would like to replace asbestos pipes. There is a plan to replace pipes along with road renewal to save money. I also have people concerned about the size of their tax bill. A lot of people with concerns. I also recognize the current guidance of Health Canada. I am prepared to wait a bit longer until Health Canada makes a determination with any new information for the actual renewal. I will also suggest that if Health Canada changes their recommendation, then the likelihood of federal funding for remediation will increase significantly. I continue to support the prioritization of lead pipe remediation, as this is specifically called out by Health Canada already. I will be supporting the motion at this time, but advise I will not be in favor of spending additional money or changing priority until Health Canada's guidance is changed. I look forward to Health Canada's updated position on asbestos pipes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mancinelli, go ahead.
Thank you. Appreciate the debate so far. Through the chair, the data needed to do the analysis, if I'm not mistaken, administration's already got a pretty good measurement of the needed data. It's just the analysis of that data. I think this is well studied. Am I correct?
Through the chair, yes, we've got the information available. We know what it costs to fix a water main. We know what the break history is. So yes, the data is available. We just need to pull it together and make sure that it can be in a public report.
Just to follow up on why I'm asking that, just looking at our last budget and all the expenses and knowing that this will probably trigger having to set aside more. This isn't an expensive report to put together. This is just a smart one to put together, correct?
Through the chair, yeah, I don't expect we need any external help for this report. It'll just be internal staff, and it's not an expensive report.
Thank you. Just looking at some of the information that's been put forth in the chambers today, I want to make sure we're accurate with things. This is a potable water system, so anytime there's a break in the system, like everything has to be flushed and cleaned up because contamination happens from everything, not just the pipes. Is that correct?
Through the chair, there's many different ways that a repair occurs. The main objective would be to keep positive pressure in that pipe all the time. And so if it's a small break, that's what happens. So the water continues to flow, and there's always a positive pressure, which makes sure that nothing can enter that pipe. If it's a large break and water is turned off, then yes, water mains would need to be flushed to ensure they're safe for drinking water and meet the regulatory requirements.
But that's a hazardous materials from a lot of different things that might show up in the head of your tap. Like that was just good practice to follow if you've had a break. Just for clear information so people know what to expect is what I'm trying to ask through the chair.
Yeah, that's correct, through the chair.
Okay, thank you. That lining of pipes you're doing, that's not a permanent repair. You're just trying to mitigate for extra timeline, provide a bit of extra safety, and plan through your road repair, as the mayor kind of touched on, correct? You don't think that's the be-all and end-all from here to eternity?
You know, through the chair, actually, whether it's wastewater relining or water main relining, it's projected to have a 50-year life or longer. So those are long-term solutions, and it's done in combination of the road. So if the road's in good condition, we'll do a water or wastewater relining, and they are projected to have a long life.
And just for expectations, so it's clear, once that's been relined, that new lining, if it was an asbestos pipe that's been relined and the pipe cracks, the asbestos doesn't flow through past your lining. That 50-year forward look you give is kind of what falls into place from the new pipe you formed inside.
Through the chair, so yes, the new pipe is a structural pipe, and so there's been studies that showed that the host pipe, doesn't matter what material it is, could actually not be there any longer at all. So the liner creates a new structural pipe.
Thank you for the clarity. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councillor Radens, go ahead.
Thank you. So you mentioned that their breaks per year can range between 170 to 210, correct?
Through the chair, even a larger range. So, in the last 5 years, it's ranged from 170 to 243. I can think back when we had larger than 243 breaks. So it's really dependent on the weather and the condition of the pipes.
Okay, wonderful. So I think that this is a good motion that's been put forward, and I look forward to seeing what the report says along with budgetary numbers. And so the other question is, if we were to accelerate the upgrades, then that would reduce the amount of breaks over time, correct? I mean, that's an obvious.
Through the chair, that would be the objective. Of course, pipes are aging, and so the objective would be to accelerate to reduce pipe breaks.
Good. So thank you for that. I do support this in that I like to see what the numbers are and I like to see what the data says. And so then we can move forward properly. I like the idea of the 5-year renewals that as well. And so thanks. Good motion.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, Councillor Zakidniak, would you like to close debate?
Yeah, I actually realized that it might be helpful to back up a bit because, like I said, for me, this was more about us trying to assess whether we are efficiently using our money instead of using more money for repairs. Should we be replacing our pipes at a quicker rate? But I realized that we didn't talk about the fact that it's my understanding that when we're putting new pipes in, we don't use asbestos cement pipes anymore because of our soil conditions. I believe we now use a PVC pipe in lieu of these asbestos cement pipes. So I think that's an important piece of information. If administration can clarify, like we're moving away from these. And so it's just about addressing the ones that we currently have. What's the best way to deal with those? Can you just confirm that what I said is accurate?
Mr. Doney?
Through the chair, I can confirm that's accurate. We no longer install AC asbestos cement water main pipes. We've moved away from that as the industry has, I think, in majority of the world. We now install PVC pipes, which are a bit more flexible and do not have anywhere near the number of water main breaks that we see in our AC network.
So setting aside, whether there are health implications or not, we know that these cement pipes are not great for our soil, and not just us, like others around the world are not using them. We know that other pipes are if we use the PVC pipes, which are more flexible, we're not going to see these breaks. So it's just a matter, if we, what we can just focus on is if we're using our money in a way that is, are we being financially prudent in our current approach? And we are not. So that's why the first scenario is at 10 kilometers per year, because that is our target. We aren't currently meeting our targets. Is that accurate?
Through the chair, as costs have increased over the last few years, we do find it a challenge to get to 10 kilometers per year. And so every year is a bit different because of the integrated work. But in general, we have not been meeting that target.
And as you said, the target that 10 kilometers a year was created so that we're not spending too much money on repairs, that we could instead be investing on expediting, on replacing our pipes, right? That was where that target initially came from. Is that accurate?
Through the chair, yes. The original target came from trying to maintain the same number of water main breaks. So basically not allowing it to get to a situation where it's costing us even more to do maintenance.
Right. So, asking what would it take for us to meet our target, and should we have a higher target or not? I guess also,
1 minute left.
Kate, we said that you are bringing back more information about whether we should expedite our renewal of poor roads, right? So we have information coming on lead pipes. My understanding is we have information coming on accelerating our road replacement. So we're just gathering information, and I think they all go hand in hand. Is that accurate about the road report?
Through the chair, that is correct. There's no standing motion that we'll bring forward options about the cost of increasing road renewal.
Okay, and my final point is, even if you think we should wait to see one day if there's additional federal funding available, all I'm asking for at this point is information. I want us, let's say there is money available. Sometimes that gets announced quickly, and I want us to be armed, whether or not we decide to move faster right now or not. I want us to have the information so that if we decide to move more quickly, we have the information on hand to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote, please.
Through you, Mayor, the motion is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Okay, thank you. And we're just about 1:45, so we will take our mandatory break, 15-minute break, and we'll be back just before 3 o'clock. Thank you. Back to order, please. Okay, we'll now consider item CR 26-41, 2026 citizen appointments to the Regina Airport Authority. I will ask Deputy Mayor Mancinelli to please introduce the report.
Oh, sorry, I just have a computer down here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
I guess I don't really need my computer up. This is the appointment of people to the Airport Authority. The Airport Authority allows Regina Council to commit a portion of the committee as they become spots become open, and these are the candidates we're putting forth.
Okay, thank you. Can I have someone move the report? Councillor Bizo. And and a seconder, Councillor Burton. Councillor Bizo, would you like to speak to the report?
No, all good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And any questions from council members? Councillor Turnbull, go ahead.
Yes, I guess I could ask a few questions first. Through the chair, how is this application process done? And what is council's responsibility to it?
I'll ask the city clerk to speak to that. Go ahead.
Through the chair, so the Regina Airport Authority is a not-for-profit corporation. Their bylaws state that the city of Regina may nominate 6 members to their board for consideration. Our office works with the Regina Airport Authority to advertise for for vacant or soon-to-be vacant seats. And citizens interested in applying submit their resumes through the application form. The Office of the City Clerk collects those applications and provides them to the RAA. The Executive Committee then reviews and they provide a recommendation to City Council for nominations. So City Council in this case, because RAA is not a committee of council, it is a not-for-profit corporation and is separate from the City of Regina. Council only nominates.
And those nominations come to us from the Regina Airport Board?
That's right. So the Regina Airport Authority may make a recommendation on nominations, but then council may choose, or executive committee considers those nominations and then ultimately makes nomination recommendations to City Council.
And is any of this process ever public?
Through the chair, so just like any other citizen nomination process where there's personal or confidential information related to citizen members, the consideration of any of that would be heard in private.
And the process of selection, is that ever a way for people to find out how that happens?
Through the chair, I would recommend that if we were going to discuss the selection process as it's held in private meetings, that we would go in camera.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'll just say something quickly. I'm voting no to this item. I know both of these candidates and I understand that they're expiring members and they're being nominated for reappointment to the board, and I'm very sure that they'll continue to do a good job serving. I'm voting no because I disagree with the process for nominations to the Regina Airport Authority and would like to see a board of directors for RA that more closely reflects the demographics and strategic values of our city. Therefore, I cannot support this. I will vote no to express this to the board. I hope that the matters I identified will be addressed by the board for future application processes.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Councillor Fro, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. I've made a commitment to my colleagues, which I'll just state for the record, which I intend to follow through on, which is to work with the clerk's office to express our expectations as a council. And in my view, those expectations are that there's a fulsome recruitment, selection, and
Councillor
adjudication.
Fro, just hold on. I'll just maybe get the... Sorry, Councillor Fro, go ahead.
No, it's all good. I just want to say, I've stated publicly, and I suspect it's fine to state now, that I view our role as ensuring that our partners and board proponents that come through here, that we make sure that there's a solid selection process and that the governance is strong. And so I think that we have an opportunity moving forward with all our partners, including the Regina Airport Authority, to ensure that we have an agreed upon process, and that process ensures that all candidates are vetted and adjudicated by a governance process that we're comfortable with. And I think we can work on that. We can do that before the next round of selections, and so I commit to help with that. Thanks. But I certainly will be voting in favor because I don't believe it's our role to adjudicate on the floor of council which directors are right or wrong. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, Councillor Bezo, would you like to close debate?
Yes, please. Let's go to vote.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote, please.
Through the chair, the motion is carried 10-1, with the following members voting in favor: Councillor Bezo, Councillor Burton, Councillor Flores, Councillor Fro, Councillor Mancinelli, Councillor Radins, Councillor Rasevich, Councillor Siklis, Councillor Zakidniak, and yourself, Mayor Bashinsky. And voting against is Councillor Turnbull.
Okay, thank you. We'll now consider item CM 26-3, Regina Animal Bylaw Supplementary Report, and I will ask City Solicitor Shannon Williams to please introduce the report.
Sorry, just one moment. Sorry. So this bylaw is, or this amendment report is simply because there were some errors within the first drafting of the bylaw. The amendments that you will see before you are simply just to change a few numbers and make some very administrative corrections to the bylaw so that they reflect the decisions that council made. So there's nothing substantive that changes any of the decisions council had previously made with respect to the bylaw. It's just to make sure that it's reflective of the numbers and the amounts in the bylaw that is going forward today.
Thank you. Can I have someone move the report? Councillor Mancinelli. And seconder, Councillor Rasevich, thank you. Councillor Mancinelli, would you like to speak to the report?
No, well explained by administration.
Thank you. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none, Councillor Mancinelli, anything come to mind?
Nope.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote, please.
Through the chair, the motion is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Okay, we'll now consider the following bylaws. 2026-21, the Regina Fire Bylaw 2026, 2026-23, the Regina Property Classes and Subclasses Bylaw 2026, 2026-24, the Education Property Tax Bylaw 2026, 2026-25, the Regina Property Tax Bylaw 2026, 2026-26, the Lead Affordable Access Municipal Property Tax Deferral Program Bylaw 2026, and 2026-27, the Regina Animal Amendment Bylaw 2026. I'll ask Deputy Mayor I'm going to hang on 1 second.
I gave him an update though.
Sorry, we had one mistake in the list that I read out. So we'll be reading those except for 2026-26, the Lead Affordable Access Municipal Property Tax Deferral Program Bylaw 2026. We will read separately. So bylaws 2026-21 through to 27 that I read out, excluding 2026-26. Okay, so Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, I'll get you to do first reading of those bylaws. Thank you.
That's what you think. I move seconded by Councillor Sick, listed bylaws number 2026-21, 23, 24, 25, and 27 be introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through the chair, the first reading is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, can you please do second reading of the bylaws?
I move seconded by Councillor Fro that bylaws number 2026-21, 23, 24, 25, and 27 be read a second time.
Do any members of council have questions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote on the second reading of the bylaws.
Through you, Chair, the motion is carried unanimously for second reading with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, can you please do consent for third reading of the bylaws?
I move seconded by Councillor Burton that bylaws number 2026-21, 23, 24, 25, and 27 go to third reading at this meeting.
I will ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the motion is carried with all members present voting in favor.
Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, can you please do final reading of the bylaws?
I move seconded by Councillor Turnbull that bylaws number 2026-21, 23, 24, 25, and 27 be read a third time.
I will ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the motion for third reading is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. We will now consider the following bylaw, 2026-26, the Lead Affordable Access Municipal Property Tax Deferral Program Bylaw 2026. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Mancinelli to do first reading of that bylaw.
I move seconded by Councillor Flores that bylaw number 2026-26 be introduced and read a first time.
I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the motion for first reading is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, can you please do second reading of the bylaw?
Oh, this is going to be the tricky one. I move seconded by Councillor Adams that bylaw number 2026-26 be read a second time with amendment to section 5 to read as follows. The tax deferrals in sections 4B, 4D, 4H, 4J, 4K, 4L, 4M, 4P, 4S, 4T, 4V, 4AA, 4HH, and 4II provide for annual deferrals of 1/5 of the amount listed in those sections, and the tax deferrals in sections 4A, 4C, 4E, 4F, 4G, 4I, 4N, 4O, 4Q, 4R, 4U, 4W, 4X, 4Y, 4Z, 4BB, 4CC, 4DD, 4EE, 4FF, 4GG, 4JJ, 4JK, oh, sorry, my mistake, 4KK, provide for annual deferrals of 1/10 of the amount listed in those sections.
There's some members of council would like you to repeat that, Councillor Mancinelli, but I won't.
I can put that to a backbeat if you want.
I think our city solicitor had fun with that one, knowing you were going to have to read that out. Do any members of council have any questions? Seeing none, I will ask. Oh, sorry, Councillor Zakiniak, go ahead.
I think it just the reason why this very convoluted amendment came forward is just because it was for the sake of clarity, improved clarity, or there was a mistake. I just felt like it'd be useful to clarify why we made Councillor Mancinelli do that.
Ms. Williams, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. The concern was that in the initial drafting, we hadn't listed all of the ones that actually had the 1/10 deferral and the 1/5 deferral. So we had incorrectly listed some as having the wrong deferral amount. So we had to correct it, and we had to specifically state which ones were the correct deferral amount, or the 1/5, and which ones were the 1/10. So we just wanted to make it very clear that those were the amounts that were being deferred on the annual reserves.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. With no other questions, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote on the second reading of the bylaw as amended.
Through you, Mayor, the motion for second reading as amended is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, can you please do consent for third reading of the bylaw?
I move seconded by Councillor Zakidniak that bylaw number 2026-26 go to third reading at this meeting.
I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the motion for consent for third reading is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mancinelli, can you please do final reading of the bylaw?
I move seconded by Councillor Bezo that bylaw number 2026-26 be read a third time.
I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor, the motion for third reading is carried unanimously with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Councillor Siklees and a seconder. Councillor Mancinelli, I'll call the question. Any opposed? And carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.